Good morning, everybody. Whoa, look at everyone. Hello. Let's pop out the chat. What if I am late? All right, let's get some cheese. Today, I have some Rosenborg Danish brie. And it's a very light, fluffy brie, which I have polished off most of a block of with crackers. So I'll just chop off a bit. So it's almost like whipped brie. Very light. Yummy. Really good with crackers. I'd call that a perfect breakfast cheese. Cheese! How is everyone? Pat J, Adrianeth, Zazik, 666, Llewellyn's Shingler, Dave Marks, Kollros, Apocalyptic Moth, Jay Walker, Bleached JFL, Popudoculus, Moonring, Sean Ho, Deathless. The time has come. Lord Giant. How to D&D. Hello. I'm great. Your butt feels weird? Sorry to hear it. Top of the mornings and two. It ain't easy being cheesy, that's true, Don. So today we're going to talk about Theros and animal people, and particularly the Leonin, which I'm going to be making a video about this week. And Theros, just in general, just a general overview. For those of you who are not aware of what Theros is as a setting, it's part of the Magic the Gathering universe, multiverse. So it's not part of the D&D multiverse until it's officially said so. But so far, they don't look like they want to cross the streams on those two universes. So you can go to there and adventure if you want, but it's not like you can fly a spelljamming vessel from one location to another. That may also mean that you can't teleport or plane shift from a Dungeons and Dragons world like Earth for the Greyhawk setting and travel to Theros via a plane shifting thing. Don't be talking about your mum. I'm not talking about your mum. You still say they should have gone with Amonkhet? Well, I actually know what I have my suspicions about why they went with Theros, and I'm okay with it. But it's Yeah, well, I'm not. I didn't play through the Theros sets of Magic the Gathering stuff. I just sort of played the online game when it got popular. But I played the early Magic the Gathering Dominaria sort of centric sets and things. But what about Sigil? Yeah, maybe. I mean, Sigil has possible doorways to everywhere. So, do I finish? Oh no, I finished the sweets already. I finished the chocolate bars. I have a will of cheese, not of iron. So Theros is a dimension or a world, really doesn't matter either way, where the Archons essentially came down to a planet and decided that they were going to take it over and rule it for the mortals' own good. Unfortunately, the Archons in Magic the Gathering, they represent the harsh and lawful side of white mana, or the side, everything that white mana represents. So the Archons are these glowing, faceless angels that ride around on. They're not angels as in they don't have wings, but they ride around on griffins and hippogriffs and things like that. Yeah, Dominaria. I guess maybe they're working their way up to Dominaria. Who knows? Or Dominaria. No, there isn't an Earth in the Magic the Gathering universe. The multiverse of Magic Gathering. There is one in the, I guess, in Dungeons and Dragons. We stopped playing at Ice Age. That was like 3 or 4 sets in. Man, yeah, that was a long time ago. Things have changed. You're not a furry, but yeah. Well, Leonins have been a part of D&D lore multiple different instances. I mean, we've got the Tabaxi, and there is actually lore to support that there's a predatory cat folk that are native to the place where the Tabaxi come from, who are very much like Leonin, but some of them are sort of demon blooded, and they're predatory and nasty. There's an Earth, yeah. You love Magic Gathering lore and despise Magic Gathering the game. Not that it's fun, mind you. It's just that for being pieces of cardboard, it somehow manages to be more expensive than Warhammer. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's you can't fault Garfield for coming up with a really, really, really good business model. I mean, that basically kicked off collectible card games. Before that, it was just bubblegum and baseball cards. You're here seeking knowledge. I have knowledge to give you. So, Theros. So, the Archon comes down. It rules over the populace of Theros using the Leonin, so these lion people, as their military force. And the Leonin were happy with this because it's an Archon. It's a celestial being. It's on a side of law and order and good. And the Leonins have always been a white side, white mana proficient or oriented around white mana. So they're honourable. They're about life, about the strength of hope and all that sort of stuff, and martial power and soldiery, military power. And so what happened was the Archons ruled over the other mortals, the humans and other races of Theros, including fauns, satyrs, with an iron fist, really. So it got to be tyranny instead of just, looking after everyone and making sure that they follow the laws. It was like follow the laws or else. And again, the Leonins had no problem with this. This sort of harsh justice. It was just the way it was. And then 2 humans, soldiers, rose up, and these were lovers, and they rose up and they took over a district and they fought back. And the way they did this is that all of the humans and other mortals prayed really hard and made a new set of gods. Essentially, the gods just sprang out of whatever passes for the astral. And those gods provided those mortals with the ability to use magic. And they fought back against the Archons. The Archons are immortal, so they couldn't be killed, but they could be imprisoned and stuff like that. And yeah, it's got its own sort of mythology. It's got its own upper plane and lower plane and sort of border plane. And it's very much like a sort of a Greek Titans, Greek new gods sort of feel to it. And also it's very much oriented around the humans and such being heroes, conquering heroes. And you've got these 4 main city-states that are called polis. A city is called a polis there. So, yeah. They manifested their own deities. Yep. Yeah, this is the Theros stuff. The clue is very obvious today. It's just like, I'll make it easy on you. Archon basically means ruler. The 2 lovers who overthrew the tyrant are actually based on... hang on. I'll find the file I'm looking for. So this is from the actual script that I'm writing for the Leonin. So the tyrant that they were overthrowing, the tyrant Archon, was Agnomachos, and the 2 lovers that took over the region, or founded the region called Miletus, or the polis called Miletus, which I think is where Theros is going to be focusing its attention. They are based on an old myth. This is so in the Magic the Gathering setting of Theros, they're called Kanias and Tiro, and these lovers are based on Harmodius and Aristigaeton, known as the Tyrannocides, who assassinated the Athenian tyrant Hipparchus in 514 BC. So yeah, that's what it's based on. And I think that sort of the idea of the conquering heroes who liberated the human race being two like a same-sex couple is part of the sort of inclusiveness that got Theros, I think, selected more than other sort of Magic the Gathering settings. I could be wrong, but it's sort of that sort of just sort of rang true for me when I was reading it, and I thought, oh yeah, I can see that. So it's yeah, it may be confronting for some people. I don't know. Who knows how it's going to turn out? It may get a bit of a a outrage marketing going on, which I think would be great for the hobby in general. Yeah, they're just slapstick. They just made a rush job of those new gods. Yeah, I run the streams every weekend, Miller Diamond. Well, no, I guess the mortals basically we're used to living in a sort of standard of order and law and order and stuff. The world of Theros has got a lot of monsters and stuff in the background, I think. So there's lots of, you know, Linnaean hydras and lions and all that sort of stuff going on. Yeah, I mean it's Greek mythology, right? So do you, really a twist on Romulus and Remus? They're not brothers. Lovers, not brothers. You sold your things at a yard sale. Damn. So I mean, call me sort of jaded a little bit, but I think that's why the setting got picked over others in Magic the Gathering. Personally, I would love to see some Phyrexis stuff because I think that's a much more compelling storyline. But then, you know, I like taking dark themes and turning them into slapstick humor in my role-playing games. I really do. Like, it may seem like I'm plunging down into Clive Barker-esque depths of horror, but most of it is just like slapstick and laughing our asses off, honestly. What new race would you like to see introduced or reintroduced into 5th edition? I would like to see the Illumians or the Shard Mines. I like the Shard Mines and the Illumians, actually. The Illumians, I think, were a really good, compelling race. Like that very idea that the story of their life is sort of rotating around their head in these celestial sort of stuff. I really like that. Wizards of the Coast, the W stands for woke. Yeah. I don't think this is a case of go woke, go broke. I just think it's actually quite good because it harkens a lot to it feels like Mystara in a little way to me, and that humans have got the potential to become immortals in this setting. So I like that, and it's not something that we've really seen. It's a lot of high level play, possibly. Lord of Blades, kill all the flesh bags. Just a reminder to everybody that this is a monetized super chat capable live stream. All donations for cheese will be gladly accepted. The Pyrexian arena is a starting point, and then you need to escape the realm by learning to planeswalk. Would be awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome, Pancho. I agree. Well, they do actually. We do have dog people in the sort of lore of Dungeons and Dragons. We've even got them in. I think they're around the Shah, possibly. So there are, yeah, the Lupin sort of races. Yeah, and Wildmount's coming out in 2 weeks. That's right, Darkstrider. God, it seems like it's been a long time that we've been waiting for that, right? Slivers in D&D. I've got a video on the slivers. Yeah, I mean, really, how different from humans are Illumians anyway? They might have like some traits and stuff. I don't think they would have stat differences per se. You'd love to see them reprint of the Manual of the Planes. Me too. A new robot race. Yeah, something that's not Warforged, but is pseudo-mechanical, like a robotic golem race or something like that. What would you do? Some sort of race which is native to the planes of Mechanus, possibly. So like a humanoid Modron hybrid. Thanks, Robert. Shekels for the Greed Dragon, yes. Greed Dragon requires shekels. Greed Dragon also requires dusting. Right, that deserves definitely some Caterpillar's Death Cheese. This has been sitting in my fridge for about a week and is now going black on the outside. And it smells like death. But I've been building up my immunity, so let's give it a go. Oh, crikey. Thanks, Gadzooks. No, I haven't actually found any Wensleydale yet. That's right, I remember this is the really smooth one. Well, Dark Sun, I'm not sure entirely how well Dark Sun did in the sales in 4th edition. I don't think it did pretty well. So there may be some reluctance there, and I don't think there's been a huge public cry out for Dark Sun like there has been for Spelljammer, for instance. Like, we haven't seen Spelljammer for a long time, but we have seen Dark Sun recently. So also, a lot of people were not happy with what happened with the Dark Sun sort of storyline and the lore and stuff like that. Squirrel? Squirrel! Dog boys. Are you talking about dog boys from Rifts? Because I fully agree with that. Psi hunting, mage hunting dog boys who are purpose bred by like the Zentarum or something like that to hunt down mages. Actually, there is a faction, a secretive faction that operates around the Sword Coast and basically all around the Anarok Desert that seek out adventure seekers. They're kind of like the Magi from the Mummy, where they don't want any of their stuff from the Netherall Empire to be disturbed or rediscovered because they don't think that humans should ever attain those heights of magic again. And so they actually hunt down and kill anybody who is seeking forbidden information about the fallen empire, because they're the descendants of the people who lost everything. Thanks, Comic Nut. Modrons are too cartoonish, yes, I'd agree. We need another version of the Modrons. Yeah, exactly. I've never really been very happy with like the wood and like fibrous nature of Warforged. Like it's some sort of contraption. Like, how is that superior to anything? I can sort of see where they were going with like alchemical fluids and stuff to give it a mimicry of life and organic processes, but I mean, why? just to make it more vulnerable so that it doesn't like overpower the game. Rifts needs an official link in D&D. Well, I mean, Rifts is a multiverse too. It's a multiverse nexus as well. So maybe there is a link to there through Sigil. Who knows? The Rifts multiverse is another multiverse again. Or megaverse, I should say. TM. Warforged versus Replicators. I like it. Hey, like and subscriber. I'm good, thanks. There are vampiric illithids, yes. It's definitely a step back for them, though. They don't like it. Ah, yes. I've been meaning to get around to doing a video on Yenogu. I apologise I've been so tardy. How do you run how a faction reacts to a PC? What I do is I sort of set a initial attitude. What I do is I roll a d12. It's very old school. I roll a d12, and that basically, what number that is, sets how favourable or disfavourable the NPC is towards the player character, just through first impressions. So you roll the die, and let's say you get a 6. They're neutral. They're like, whatever. If they're of a faction which is against that player in general, you knock a couple of points off that. So if you roll a 1, they're going to instantly want to attack you. It really depends on the NPC, and there's a lot of nuance to it. But I roll that dice just to give me a gauge on that individual's mood. Then you can come down to like the finer points of how many charisma bonus the player has, what they're saying at the table. You know, I'm not a fan of role play. I'm a fan of role play. So I personally don't want any rules in the books governing how how character interactions and things like that work, how the actual role playing works. I want stats and things like that for random events, locations, environmental conditions which affect, you know, combat and skill use and things like that. But I don't want the game to tell me how to run the story. I want to get like ideas and suggestions and inspiration from it, but I don't want them to dictate how to run a social encounter as a skill interaction. Cyborg Dragonborn would be badass, yeah. That's the beauty of magic items. You don't need to lop off limbs and have them replaced by, you know, cybernetic implants and things. You can just have devices and things which give you magical powers. Robert Wilson, thank you. We need more Jeremy Irons overacting. Oh, God. Physical pain. Hey, Matt. Galarian, yeah. Is there any... There must be some novels set in the Pathfinder universe, right? Can somebody point me in the direction of some Pathfinder novels? I'm sorry, Kane. What in regards to what? What is my opinion on Theros Dune in regards to what? I have many theories on Theros Dune. Probably have more theories on Theros Dune than your average. Oh yeah, Rift's Juicer meets D&D Alchemist. It's like, what do you got there? Oh, it's a potion of giant growth. What are you doing? You can't take that intravenously. Juices are awesome. I've seen play a juicer played like Mean Machine Angel from the Judge Dredd movie, where he's got that dial on his head. So he gets a kick in the comptroller for his drug harness. And it's like goes crazy for a couple of minutes until he gets the mix right. I've never watched a single episode of Sailor Moon. Have no idea about it apart from blue uniforms. That's it, and way too long legs. I have no idea. What is Sailor Moon? Is it like a superhero thing? Superhero school children? Seems to be a lot of that in anime. Superhero school children. watched by grown adults in a creepy way. It's anime. Yeah, true, Chaos Maker. It's rich pickings for a fantasy writer. No, Cormac, I'm not going to watch anime for anyone. I'll watch anime if I want to watch anime. And I will physically fight anybody who tries to make me watch something. Oh, God. Not a dog. Okay. Yeah, right. Now I've got a picture in my head. Thank you in a horrible way. Just me. Yeah, yeah. Oh. I mean, there's falling in social media, and then there's just that swan dive from the heights to the very plummeting depths of depravity. That was the Pro Jared story. Oh, personally, not keen to work with those guys. Oh, the Lava Mage. Yes. Hang on, just let me bump that up on my list here. Doo-doo-doo. Shout out to a couple of things I've been enjoying this week. One is I've been beta testing a game called Space Force. Becky Rose, the amazingly fabulous Dungeon Girl, is part of the dev team, and they invited a bunch of beta testers to try it out, and I've been trying it out, and it's been great. Essentially, you just fly around through big space gates, like space stargates, into different star systems, and you take over the planets and things like that, and you fight aliens, and you fight each other. And it's browser based, so you can just play it online. You don't have to download anything. It's great. Yeah, I'm trying to. You may have noticed I'm slowing down a little bit on the viewer request videos, just because they were taking up like 90% of my content, and that's fine. It just means that it was getting really kind of muddled what I was doing, and there was a lot of series and things that I wanted to get done that just were falling by the wayside because I was doing so many viewer request videos. But yeah, Dave. Yeah, that's not what the stream is about. Yeah, so in order to have some like completion on some of the projects which I've been wanting to do, I'm sort of putting a lot of the viewer requested content on the back burner at the moment. Patrons and contributors and members of the channel obviously get to make requests and things like that of me as well. That's like the Leonin video is not only topical because Theros is coming out soon, but it's also one of the videos that I've been wanting to do for a while because I actually really loved playing Vargara characters from Traveller back in the day. So I've been playing cat-like characters since before you was born. And I'm overjoyed that they're coming to official D&D 5th edition use. And yeah, no. Even before furries were a thing, because I don't ever remember hearing anything about furries until much later. But I mean, dog people and cat people have been part of Traveller, for instance, the sci-fi RPG, since the very beginning. And the droin. I'd love to see a D&D version of the droin. If you don't know what droin are, I can't help you. You need to go and look it up. My favourite undead? Probably skeletons, actually. Good old simple skeletons. How long is the list? It's a lot less than it used to be. So previously, I've got this red book back here, which was the list. This is now also my videos to be remastered, and things that I've been that will be worked on, including the Demon series, which I'm still working on. Next up is in the Demon series is the Spider Fiends, in case anybody asked. Then we've got there's a lot actually which I've covered. At the moment, I'm working on finishing off Volo's Guide to Monsters as a monster playlist, you may have noticed. And also, this is my list of all of the videos that need to be redone. So I've been working my way. Actually, let me just update this before your very eyes. Oops, sorry. Through the Giant series. There's a lot of Undead that I need to do, and a lot of the videos from the past which just got really bad audio. They weren't scripted and stuff. Hey, thanks Coyote Dodge. Coyote Dodge. Coyote Dog. I like it. Love your videos for over a year now. I love that you cover the old lore from fun when I was young, and that you took the Coyote suggestion. Oh yeah. Are you going to cover the Spelljammer, the Manta Ray? Yes, absolutely. Because you can't talk about Spelljammer without the Spelljammer. Yeah. Well, Kargits are kind of Leonins. So the Leonins exist across multiple worlds or planes in the Magic the Gathering universe. So the Leonins of Theros are unusual in that they are outcast from society. So they're following the former Archon rulers and being ousted along with them and being conquered along with them, and being actually turning out to be on the wrong side of history, sits very poorly with them. And so they don't like the new gods, and they don't like being outside of society and being seen as the bad guys from history, because it rankles their sense of honor. So they're kind of Ronin in a way, like a whole race of dishonored warriors, essentially. So I find that rich pickings for just a background feel for a character. I think it really smacks really well, because they want to prove themselves as heroes, you know. A Clive Barker Borg. Ooh. I did. You said an old man comment for RPGs. I've played this type of character since before you were born. It's true, man. I've been playing those characters since the early 80s. And some of you were born after that. Spelljamming. So Spelljammer is a setting where the Spelljammers are basically, imagine a flying ship, like the Flying Dutchman or whatever it is, flying sailing ship that can fly completely out of the atmosphere, and when it leaves the atmosphere, a bubble of air goes whoop and flow goes with it, so that people can like breathe in space for a limited time, unless they've got some means to replenish their atmosphere. And inside that ship, they've got like a captain's chair, and a mage sits on it, and they channel their magical power that propels the entire ship. That is spelljamming in a nutshell. And the ship has its own gravity, sort of in the middle of the ship, so you can walk around on the hull of the ship, or top or bottom of the keel or the hull. Keel or the deck, I should say. Aloha, Damien. Where are Archfey and the D&D hierarchy? Well, they're essentially the lords of their plane of existence. So Archfey are archetypes of a realm which is both physical and dream. So the Feywild is part fairy tale. It's very much fairy tale. So it's nursery rhymes and things like that. So they are legendary figures that are evergreen, perpetually replenished by the story that they are a part of. They are a fable. Ice pirates, yeah. Shout out a random YouTuber, pair of geeks. Um, let's see who else. Who's one I've been watching? Oh, actually, I've been binge watching the Beast, World's Strongest Man, Eddie, and today I was watching some competitive eating channels. That's the sort of sports I like: individual challenges, strongman, and competitive eaters, and things like that. It's true, not a dog. I do not say this in jest. I do not say this lightly. I don't often like wave over the I've been playing since the 1980s solidly banner, but sometimes I do. Fable, exactly, Matt. Rune Hammer, good D&D channel. If you haven't watched Hanker and Ferndale on YouTube, you definitely should. Dungeons and Hammers. I have a feeling AJ favours Asmodeus among the gods, or some smart. Well, Asmodeus is like that lawyer that you just can't get rid of. You know, he's that lizard-suited son of a bitch who's just too damn clever to get rid of. He's always got a backup plan. He's always got something on you. WebDM, also very good. Oh, yeah, WebDM is an awesome channel. Those two guys, I'd love to sit down and have a chat with them. Hopefully, I run into them at Gen Con. You can have a beer, maybe. Yeah, like it'd be cool to hang out with one of those like strongman guys for like a few hours and like play a game of golf or something like that with them. But hanging out with them all day and their routine, like eating and working out and eating and working out and eating and working out, it's just it's crazy lifestyle, really. Dingo Doodles, yeah, Z Bradshaw, yep. I thought you meant like some obscure YouTube channels. Chaos Maker, being a mushroom queen, demoness, is way powerful because mushrooms are like fungus, forms the basis of life on many worlds, I'd imagine. Like if you're not slightly scared of fungus, then you don't know fungus very well. Our society could run on fungus right now, perfectly sustainably. So, for instance, you can use fungus to soak up oil spills and chemical spills and convert minerals into organic compounds, which you could then process through fermentation into ethanol to power vehicles, for instance, and other fungus which could suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and replenish the entire cycle over and over again. Fungus forms the substrate that allows plants to grow. It forms a communication network under the forest floor that allows plants and things to interact with animals. It's incredible. We have fungus in our bodies. Some of the organelles in our cells may have a fungal origin. Who knows? They bridge that gap between plants and animals, and who knows? Yeah. Honestly, if there was there should be a character class, a priest of the psilocybin, or something like that. Priest of the, what do you call it? Mushroom, fungus priest. Exactly. She should be a god. Well, a bacteria demon lord would be Papa Nurgle. I think Papa Nurgle would definitely, like all of those, the Chaos gods in Warhammer 40k have a place in D&D for sure. Yeah, so Zugmoy represents the allure of fungus, that ability, that hallucinatory, surreal nature of fungus to draw you in and then rot you while you're in a state of ecstasy. So it's horrific. It's people throwing themselves into a pile of rot willingly. Path of the Shrooms, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, quite a few of the basic cuisine of the Underdark is mushrooms. Circle of Spores Druid. Now we're talking. So you're saying that with enough biomass, the Underdark is theoretically possible? Yes. Well, the Underdark is sustained by phase rest energy as well, and that came about from. I'm not sure. Does the phase rest energy, did that spring up at the same time that the elves cast their ritual to turn the dark elves, the Eleutheri, into the Drow, or was it already there? I'm not entirely sure. Mr. Rex did a really good video on that, by the way. I wish I could get in contact with Mr. Rex. He's really hard to get hold of. I mean, I understand why he would limit the contactability because he's got like 600,000 people and 300,000 people watching his videos. He's on a whole different level. That's fine. Mycelium, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, amigo. Well, don't forget yeast is also a fungus. The phase res? No, I don't think that's Far Realm based. No, I don't think so. I had somebody who was like really anti Far Realm on the comment section just recently. I was like, whatever. They're saying that lots of different D&D level was retconned to include the Far Realm, and I'm just like, well. Blood War episode. Hey, thanks, Zachzilla. Yeah, I suppose so. Like, it gets mentioned a lot in the videos I make about demons and devils. So, I don't know if there isn't anything to talk about that I haven't already covered in parts in different videos in that regard. So if you watch through those playlists, you'd get a pretty good understanding of what the Blood War is all about. I like to leave it a little bit vague on the specifics about where it's located, what's going on, who the prime movers and shakers are. Like I haven't talked about the Dark Eight of the Baelors and things like that because they chop and change so frequently. The politics of the Nine Hells and the Abyss is so volatile that as soon as I make a video about something, it's like I read something else and it's changed. So I like to leave it vague so that you can come up with your own take on it. Yeastlings. Locusts from the Gears of War. I'm not familiar with the Gears of War series. You've been working on a character that uses fungi like... I'm thinking maybe a brown mold infused with plane of ice energies possible against a red dragon if need. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Basically, if you combine some elemental means of feeding that fungus, yeah, it's going to go crazy. I've done a little bit of Ravenloft content. I plan on doing a little bit more on the Planes of Dread, the Domains of Dread, what the different domains are. I would like to actually play through Ravensloft myself before I make any videos on it, and I think everybody would see that as perfectly fair because I don't like talking about things that I don't have a lot of personal experience with. I made that mistake with Critical Role. Yeah, don't make videos on stuff that you don't know anything about. It's just bad idea because you're just going on the books and things like that. So I'd like to actually get some practical play experience with Ravenloft and play through some games of that myself. What I do know is that it's Ravenloft is a lot of locations packed into a small area, and it's a well-designed storytelling system for a sandboxy sort of style of play, where you can go from here to there to there to there, there. And it's a setting that really encourages the DM to read through it and know what's going on where, and then riff with the players and let them explore it and go around and do their own thing. And at all times, the brooding shadow of Strahd is in the castle overlooking, but it's a hopeless sort of situation. So it's a little bit like a Call of Cthulhu feel ported into Dungeons and Dragons, where you're not getting out of there alive. You're not getting out of there sane and whole. You may even kill the vampire, but how are you going to escape that plane? Because the Dark Lords are trapping you there. So yeah, it may even be a nightmare dream. Yeah, it's tiny. It's like 10 square. Yeah, is it 10 square kilometers? Something like that. I think Mr. X has got great charisma. Like, he does a few things which I envy. I'm working on the editing. I've got Ian Redno NZ Blue on YouTube now, who's doing editing on more and more of my videos, and he does a really good job. He's the equal of Mr. X's videos editing. Mr. X does the on-screen accrediting of artists and stuff, which I don't know how he has time. Well, I do know how he has time for that. He doesn't do 2 videos per week. But I don't really want to cut down on my video content output. So I will try my best to do some sourcing of, or at least linking of artist names and stuff, maybe in the comment section down below, or the video description down below. But it's very time consuming. I'll do my best anyway. And he doesn't go into depth as well. Sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't. It's like he'll get into I can see what he's doing. He's going into a wiki article and he's reading through the various stats and figures. And if something is easy to follow, or he's clicking on various things and compiling a list of information, and then he's writing out a script for it, or just riffing off what he knows, which is essentially basically what I do as well, except I guess I just go into like Dragon Magazine articles, and I just pull in a lot of different research from a lot of different areas, and it's one of my strengths, I suppose. Wow, thanks Billions and Billions. What is that currency? SEK. Psilocybin shrooms could mesh well into a cleric worshipping the mystical spiritual itself, disregarding specific gods. Is there such a thing as a concept spanning clerics instead of specific? Such a thing as concept spanning clerics instead of specific gods? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Don't forget, clerics in D&D are not monotheistic for the most part. They're polytheistic, and also they can, particularly in some settings, they can worship, or they can represent a principle. Thanks, Gadzooks. Enjoyed the Anarok video on the official D&D channel this week. Interested to hear your take on that region. Well, I do actually have a video on the Anarok, but I'd like to revisit that as well, because there's even more information on the Anarok Desert that I could show you. It is on the border of the high ice, the region that the giants are becoming more active in, and there is a lot. Man, I could run an entire campaign in the Anarok Desert. No problem. In fact, that would be one of my preferred areas of the Forgotten Realms to actually run an adventure, is the Anarok Desert, because there is just so much. The strata of adventure in the various layers of going down and through the desert. So you got the surface, and like the Badine and all the different races that live there, and desert giants and things like that. And then you've got the magic giants, the arcane giants, and you've got those factions that are interested in keeping everything hidden and buried. You've got there's a big lake there that is teeming with life and activity around there. You've got the Standing Stones, which is all the fallen cities. So the Underdark of the Anarok is the surface level Underdark, is all of these fallen and buried cities, which of course madhouse of monsters and machines and artifice and stuff like that wandering around, and revenants and ghosts from this lost civilization. You can time travel back to the ancient well, the not so ancient Netherese Empire, so you can pop back in time to actually walk around at the height of human magocracy, and back again, and try and stop, Carsis's folly. Yeah, it's a great location. Oh, it's the Swedish krona. Hang on. So how much is 100 Swedish krona? That seems like a lot. Or is it like $10? I'm confused. What does a New Zealand dollar look like? It's a coin. Hang on. I will show you. So this is a New Zealand $2 coin. It's got a heron, a white heron on the front of it. And it's got the queen on the back. Pretty simple looking coin. We call it a gold coin, but it's not, I don't know if it's actually got any actual gold in it at all. And a New Zealand $1 coin has got a blue tack. Has got a kiwi on the front of it. There's a kiwi. Flightless kiwi bird. And we call ourselves Kiwis in New Zealand. And it's got the queen on the back of it as well. Our currency differs from Australian currency quite a bit. Our coins are generally smaller. The Australian currency, the $2 coin is the small one, and the $1 coin is the big one, which makes no sense whatsoever, but that's the way they like it. Hey, new members, thank you. Coyote Dog, welcome to Bronze Dragon, and Matthew Monsieur, welcome to Bronze Dragon. 1 Swedish krona equals 0.17. Oh, so that was like $17. Thank you very much. The eggs are hatching? €10-ish. It makes no sense either. Oh, what was that? Two artificers and a gunslinger walk into a saloon. Yeah, that's the Anarok. Bounty hunting in the Anarok. What, in my opinion, is the most vile of Demon Lord cults, and why? Like, for the sheer amount of damage that they do, cultists of Yinogu are pretty bad. Because they just murder. Just kill, slaughter. That's all they're about, is just indiscriminate slaughter. So gnolls, for instance, I have great objections to good gnolls, because gnolls were created from just the demonic blood of a demon lord. So murder is their fun and games. That's what they do. So you'll never see a good gnoll in my D&D games. My D&D games. You can play D&D however you want, but I don't appreciate people telling me how to play my game, so I will never tell anyone else how to play their game. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of horrible, nasty, vile demons. The newest ones, the Iomaras, are pretty bad demons as well, but I don't think they've actually got any demon lords per se yet. So it's almost been like too early for the Iomaras to actually form their own demon lords. So the first Iomara demon lord that pops into existence will probably be very bad. Future series, Dark Sun Ravenloft was lovely, but Dark Sun feels more viscerally horrific, like Conan. Yeah, It can be. It's very limited in its scope in certain ways. Like you're either in a dystopian city, which is run by a tyrant, or you're out struggling to survive in a desert, which is full of monsters and people trying to take your stuff. That's Dark Sun in a nutshell. Alongside of that, you've got sort of that ancient fallen cultures with buried ruins and things like that in the sand. So it's basically like the Diablo 2 where you're going through the desert and you're like popping into tombs all the time. Like it's got this dystopian, this world is dying, everything that was cool in the world is now dark and dangerous and hidden and buried away or hoarded, and resources are really poor and there's just no hope in sight. It's just getting worse. That's Dark Sun. So you can play it a certain way, but if you're playing it according to the intended vibe of the game, it's dark and it's depressing. Somewhat depressing. Yeah. But you can play it as a high heroic fantasy sort of game as well, or just like a slapstick sort of fun adventure out in the desert sort of thing. Like, the entire world is Tatooine, essentially. That's an interesting question, Robert Wilson. What would I do if I met the Queen? I would behave the same way that everyone should behave when addressing a woman in her hundreds. You let her ask her, I'd say hello, wait to be asked a question, answer to my best of my ability, and smile pleasantly and say, nice to meet you. Like I'd probably be the same way of meeting any particular politician over in the States. They're just people to me, but I would still be polite and say hello. Yeah, Americans just, the magazine market's kind of dying. Hudak, Bodak. In your house, you're never allowed to be right because you have a teenage daughter. Yeah, teenagers, man. It's true. Cannibal halflings, and yeah, that's true. Well, they're not technically cannibals. I actually talk about, oh yeah, that's right. This week, I'm finally putting out some videos on halflings. So the first in 3, I think, videos on halflings is going to come out this week. And it's a good one. It's long. It's like 6,830 words that I wrote over mostly one night, but it took me about 3 or 4 days to actually write the halflings video. That's why pretty much all week, really. But it's currently being edited by Ian at the moment in the background, and I'll be uploading that as soon as possible. And in that, I talk about all the different types of halflings, including the Kenda, who aren't actually halflings, but they are sort of adopted by the halflings because they fit the same ecological niche. But technically, they're not a race of halflings. They're just halfling-like beings. So yeah, they're not related to halflings, and they don't fall under Yondala's umbrella either. They don't worship Yondala. Yeah, they don't eat other halflings. So the halflings of Athos don't eat each other. They just eat other races. So technically, they're not cannibals. But I mean, if needs must. You're so proud of you. What did you get spoilers out of? Is Bahamut the most humble and kind of the D&D gods? No, he's a dragon. It's like, he's a dragon. Yeah, food is food. Thanks, billions and billions. How about using real money in game, buying the buying the player dinner if they slay the dragon, give to charity, etc. In a broader sense, good ways to include the real world in your game in a concrete way. That would probably fall under the same. Like, there's definite camps of attitude to pay to play, and involving social things in gaming and stuff like that, like selling D&D products and donating some of the proceeds to charity is good, is great. But when it comes to like the different strata or tiers of D&D play, the different locations and what's the word I'm looking for? The accepted conventions. So if you go to an organized play event, for instance, and it was $5 to sit down at the table, and you get, a drink and a snack, and you get 3 hours of gaming guaranteed, and everybody gets basically the same experience. That's fine. And if $2 of that is going towards the store, and $2 of that is going towards a local charity, and $1 of that is going to the people who are organising and running the event, including the DM, that's essentially pay to play. But I think it's perfectly reasonable. Then you've got people who run games online. Like, for instance, it would be perfectly reasonable for me to say, okay, I will run games for people, but I want a deposit of $20 to make sure that you show up. If you show up and sit down and play the entire game and you show up week to week, you get your deposit back. But if you don't show up, then I keep the deposit money and you don't get invited back again. So that's like, don't flake out on me because there's a lot of people who would have wanted a seat at that table. That's perfectly reasonable as well, because that's your time as a commodity. Anytime you've got a limited commodity, it has a value. So yeah, other people would never pay to play D&D. They object to it. They would never have anything to do with that themselves, and they will piss on anybody who suggests it. They need to go over to their corner, stay there, and play games for free. They have no business telling people how to play their games or anything like that. They come from an older era where such things didn't apply. The more mainstream D&D becomes, the more accepted the idea of paying to play D&D will be. And I think it's perfectly reasonable. As for, charity and things like that, it's a great means to raise funds in our community. Is that libertarianism? Is it? Is that a political view? I think it's just realistic. No, in Soviet Russia, everyone must play for state. We will assign a DM to you. No, only if if the halfling was actually made of cannabis and it ate itself, then it would be a cannabis cannibal. Thanks, Kakastu. You're playing a tabaxi using the Volo's subrace Stripeback. What? What? Excuse me. Stripeback. Stripeback, please explain. Yeah, well, they are kind of basic as is. And I do think that people should use any sort of cat humanoid, as long as it's not lion or leopard or cheetah humanoid. I mean, they do actually look a bit like cheetahs. But they're supposed to be cat folk, the tabaxi, whereas the Leonins are lion folk. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's not official. That will explain my confusion. Don't do that to me, man. Yeah, exactly. Honey Badger Beastfolk. I'll be okay with that. And Soviet Russia, Dungeon Masters you. When I when you libertarian on by accident, yeah. Yes, where lions do exist. To the Gulag. Yeah, exactly, like a West Marches style campaign, where everybody has to keep all these records and things like that. It's like it's a lot of bookwork doing a proper West Marches campaign, and DMs I know do it for a lot of love and stuff as well. But if let's face it, there's some people which don't have large circles of friends and things, and it's reasonable for them to go, look, can I just buy a place at a table? You know, I don't know anybody in this town. I want to play some D&D. I want to get to know people. I want to know some, get some friends who are interested in the same hobby as me. So yeah, I'll fork out $15 a night to play 6 hours of D&D, and I'll get to know everybody in this community. That is perfectly reasonable. Also, imagine it's like an improv event where you're playing D&D up on stage. Imagine that. D&D is comedy many times. It makes great comedy. I don't know how many times I've laughed until I hurt playing D&D. Some dark stuff. But, that's one of the things I think needs to be emphasized more, is that D&D is fun. Like when we talk about D&D being fun, we're not just talking about, oh yes, I really enjoyed my character having its brain ripped out by a mind flayer. That was enjoyable. No, it's hilarious. It's like, oh God, no. Crawl under the table. Ah! And then laugh your ass off. Like, there was some sort of dark stuff which happened in certain campaigns where I was just like, ooh, I wasn't aware. I didn't. An NPC that was a priestess of Sunni was accidentally named after one of the players' wives at the table, and she went face first into some sort of acidic fungus and had some disfiguring stuff happen, and he was just like, man, that's dark shit. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was the name of your wife. Yeah, it was funny at the time. Well, in retrospect, it was funny. Yeah, apparently that's libertarianism. Who knew? Spells and vodka. Libertarianism believes that the government has no right to tell you what to do. Their symbol here in the US is a yellow flag with a rattlesnake on it and a banner over it which "Don't tread on me." I thought that was just like the original. Is that what that flag is? I thought that was like the national symbol of the guy in the trailer park going, shh, nobody's taking my TV. Or like the state flag of Texas or something. Oh no, that was a Lone Star. I don't know. Anyway, folks, it's time for me to go. It's been a pretty good live chat, I think. We've covered talking about Theros and animal people. Don't forget, as well as the Leonin, we're going to get satyrs as a player race as well. And I think the Leonin, don't quote me on this, but I've seen some pretty good, compelling evidence that it will be +2 to strength, +1 to charisma. They'll have claw attack, which is 1d4 instead of plus strength, instead of a 1d4 bludgeoning as per normal. So they claw people, so they'll be slashing damage with their claws. And they've got a roar ability, which allows them to frighten non-Leonin and non-allies nearby with a frighten attack, like a will save type thing. And they can communicate over like 5 miles or 10 miles or something like that with that roar, including up to 10 words that they can convey with that roar over a distance, which is a really useful ability. And I think perfectly encapsulates what a lion person should be. Plus, they're medium-sized, but they can range up to 9 feet tall, which is huge, but not technically huge. Just up the upper limits of medium-sized. You've missed the cheese for the last few weeks? Here's one just for you. Catch you later, everyone. Happy gaming. Got a couple of good videos this week. One is a Spelljammer monster. And the other one is halflings. So look forward to those.